Welcome to Seat of the Pants Cooking with Chef Bill. Today, Chef Bill and special guest Executive Chef Ken Jaffe converse about food origins and fond food memories. And Chef Bill demonstrates how to cook Ken's grandma's sweet and sour beef cabbage soup.
So, it's been a long time. We were going to do this one once before. And then we had that major storm that came ripping through and knocked everybody's power out. We actually had done the whole meal, and then we had to, we had to sit there and eat it. But, oh well. It was good. It was very, very good. And my mother chastised me because I didn't give her any. So this time I have to give my mother some of this. This is a recipe that came from Kenny. It was from your grandmother, I believe, right, Ken?
Right.
So now, Kenny, is that Lithuanian?
No, it's Hungarian.
Hungarian, okay. Oh, no wonder why you wanted the Hungarian paprika.
Oh, yeah. Spanish paprika has no flavor.
No, it
Hungarian
doesn't.
Paprika has great flavor.
Yeah.
Very subtle, nutty flavor. Yeah,
So,
it's as close as I could get to my grandmother's. She never made it. Excuse me. She never made any recipes or anything. So a lot of her foods I would try and get. To this day, and I've been cooking for 45 years, I still can't do a roast chicken like she does, a simple roast chicken, and I still remember how it tasted. She did a lot of ethnic cooking, a lot of dishes from Russia and from Hungary. And because my grandfather's side of the family, their names were Spiegel. And even though that's a German name, they came from that part of the world where everybody mixed. So they ended up living in Hungary. But we're 3/4 Russian, 1/4 Hungarian. And so this is a Hungarian dish. It's a sweet and sour beef cabbage soup. And there are certainly, if you didn't want beef in it, you just wanted the soup without the beef, perfectly fine. You know, it's how you want to make it. I always tell my staff, you've got to personalize when you're at home. Add or subtract things that you don't like.
right.
And makes a good thing. Now, my grandmother came here in 1905 at the first Russian Revolution. Everybody remembers the 1918, but in 1905 they had one. But the Cossacks and the army sided with the Tsar and put down the revolution. And the Tsar had to have some sort of a scapegoat. So guess who? We Jews. If you saw the movie or the play Fiddler on the Roof, what they went through is exactly the truth of what happened. They would come into the villages and tell them they had 3 or 4 days to sell all their possessions, and they moved and to move. Some of them went to Palestine. A lot went to England. The majority came here through Ellis Island and all. And I love, she used to tell me stories about growing up here. She was 3 years old. And then she would tell me stories about her family that she got from her mother, who I had met before she died. And several famous people came out of the thing. If you've ever heard of the conductor, Michael Tilson Thomas, his original name was Tomaszewski, and that's part of the family. What's the name? All right, Sam Jaffe is not part of the family. The producer, Sam Jaffe, is, or was. He's dead now. When I talk about a lot of things from the past, I tend to daydream a lot. And we were kidding around about the Dodgers. And I was telling Bill and Becky, I can still remember the 1955 World Series field. I still remember it, who played what. And it was just a great time. The Brooklyn Dodgers were not just a regular ball team. They were truly part of Brooklyn. They were ours. Because Brooklyn originally was a separate city from New York. And to this day, people in Brooklyn, if they're going into Manhattan, will say, I'm going into the city. So we didn't recognize the rest of the city. And they had the Yankees, and they had the Giants. We had our Dodgers, and we adored them. Our enemy was, we had two, Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays. And I wouldn't have said it back then, but to me, the greatest ball player of all time was Mickey Mantle. And our slugger was Duke Snider, and he didn't come near those two. So now this soup, as I say, it's a sweet and sour soup. Grandma used to make this and amazing dishes for the holidays. We just had Rosh Hashanah, and we have Yom Kippur coming up. And that's the Day of Atonement. You fast all day. They would make dishes in advance, so you didn't have to cook them that day. And then at sundown, you just heated everything up. Grandma used to make, we were always usually about 9 people in our family. And it was just a magic number. We had 10, somebody would die. So we always had 9, but in her small little apartment kitchens, she'd make these feasts, and I don't know how she did it. I don't know how she kept anything warm, but she was a marvel. And a lot of the cooks back then were that way. And we've lost that art because so many people now, we go out to dinner, or we have all these places now where they'll send it to you, you buy the pre-made dinners and everything. So that kind of cooking is lost. And it's why whenever I retired 2 years ago, but I worked for 15 years in senior care. And I was always make stuff like this kind of soup or a stuffed cabbage, which was similar to this. And same sauce and everything, sweet and sour sauce. And they would love it because they were part of that generation. So I'll turn this over to
For everybody that doesn't know who Kenny is a dear friend of Becky and mine. He's an executive chef, retired now, thank God, because his body can't.
That's what everybody said. Yeah, he's retired. Retire that man. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 45 years, Kenny, and he didn't kill anybody, so that's pretty good.
Not that I know of.
But when Kenny and I started talking about this type of presentation, we were talking about how our families, how we can remember being around our kitchens back when kitchens used to be kitchens, when you used to sit down as a family and eat as a family. And my grandmother lived with me, my mother, and my grandmother, my mother, and my sisters. They did most of the cooking, but my grandmother, she was the matriarch, and she was the one that told everybody what to do. My sister-in-law actually sat down with my grandmother and took down her bread recipe, because grandma didn't have a written down recipe. It was like this much, boom, this much, boom. And that's what got added to the mix. So God bless Bev. She went and did that. Now we all have that recipe to bring with us, because she sat down there and watched her make that bread. And I mean, we had a thing of you take that bread dough and you break off pieces and put it into boiling oil, and we called it dough frogs, because when you pull them apart, they look like frogs in a lily pad. So you pull them out and you put butter on them. Oh my God, you could smell these things for miles. But I mean, that's what we're trying to say is like the influence that our families had on what we're cooking today. It's not like it used to be. It's not like it used to be. And seriously, I would love to bring that back. I mean, every time we have people over here, I'm cooking scratch. When you come in, we're cooking from the seat of our pants. You know, we're just bringing it in, we're making it. That's why when Kenny brought this recipe forward, it's like, oh my God, this sounds really good. So with that being said, I'm going to start cutting up and dicing up, and if I make any mistakes along the way, Kenny,
you'll be the first to know.
Yeah, but you know what? We have a mute button. So
I just want to pop in here because you guys are hitting my memories, and I also want to let you know that we have a staff member, parents over directly from Lithuania. And the way that she learned to cook was very much the way you learned, by watching. And Mom didn't have the recipe. She said, come and look. Now, Z lives with her sister. And I don't think that she can make a recipe that is any less than feeding the Russian army. So, you know, I'm just, because that's how Mom made it. So I'm just mentioning that because she's a source to draw on if you want recipes.
Yeah.
Isn't that wonderful?
Or to share recipes. She doesn't have a computer at home, or she wouldn't get sure she would have joined us. So go for it, guys. I'm going to stop in on my way home. I passed your exit.
Got lots of soup.
We got a lot of soup left over.
If it's the recipe that I know, it feeds the Russian army.
It does.
Yeah. Well, here, if I can get it up here. Here's the pot. This is the pot.
Yeah.
This does not serve two people.
Right.
This serves the Russian army.
But it freezes beautifully. It does freeze well. So.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to go at it now. The first thing that what it calls for is a whole onion. So we just take and have it. Now we're not going to dice it up. I'm going to cut it in like 1/2-inch increments, and then go across the grain. Very, very, very coarse. Because what's going to happen is once this gets into the pot, these are all going to break up, and they're almost like spoon-size pieces. So let me get this out of the way before I drop it on the floor. And bring the pot over.
If you cut yourself chopping and there's blood, just tell them it's part of the old world recipe. They'll never.
Yeah. No, I'll just say I cut the meat beforehand. All right, then we're going to take, it's a 1/4 cup, which is like 2 ounces of olive oil.
Yep.
And we're just going to introduce that into the pot. All right. Put your heat up to about medium. And start adding the onion. Now you guys don't know it, but I do. This is my vegetable board. I'll do my veggies on this side, and then I'll flip it over and I'll do my breads on the other side of this board. The one I put off to the side here is the meat board. But anyway, we're going back to the onion again. And we're just doing little 1/2-inch chunks.
And it is good to separate your cutting boards that way.
Well, yeah. You don't want to cross-contaminate. You really don't. And like we said before, Kenny has a way. This is this is a bamboo board that I have here for doing my vegetables and my breads. But the other one over here that I do I'll do meat on this side, and then I have the mistake side that's got the burn mark on it. That's the chicken side. So I have the meat and then the chicken. And I know that because it's got the burn mark. Don't ask me how that was done. All right, so the onion's in there. and we're going to bring it up to a little bit higher temperature so that you don't want to burn the onions. You want to make them translucent, not.
It's called sweating.
You want to sweat them out. You want to get the sugars out of the onion as you're cooking it. So it's going to turn to like a yellowish color. But the preparation for this meal is really very simple. It's just the slicing and dicing that has to go into it. And then once it's done, it takes an hour and a half on the stove. And you put a top on it, and you just let it simmer for an hour and a half. Now, that being said, it's better the next day. It's not, I mean, to me, I was raised in an Italian neighborhood, and if we did lasagna to me is better the next day. Meatloaf is better to me the next day, because I always say that all the ingredients, they sit together and they talk to themselves, overnight or whatever it is, and then when you go and heat it up the next day, it's like, wow, this stuff is really good, we got to we have to come up with an idea how we can do a smell of foam. How's that for a word? When you get these aromas that are coming off of your kitchen as you're cooking them, it's like, oh my God. I mean, what I can smell right now from the onions being cooked over here, you can see them. You can see them being cooked, but you can't get the aroma that's coming from these guys.
Hey, Bill.
Right. Yes, sir.
Bill, can I make a suggestion? You're going to be adding 2 bay leaves. Add them with the onions, and that's going to bring out the oils and flavors of the bay leaves.
Okay, according to your recipe, bay leaves go in at the end, but that's okay. I'll put them in now.
No.
Which are in order right here.
Yeah, that's the only herb that goes in right now.
Yep, 2 bay leaves. Can anybody hear what's going on?
What?
Can you hear this?
Yes, yes.
But you can't smell it.
My eyes are burning.
I love onions and peppers and things like that. God.
All right, I'm gonna reduce this a little bit. I'm gonna take this board off to the side because I want to get the meat ready. Because as soon as the onion starts to get a little bit of a color, I'm going to want to introduce the beef into there. But now, you go to your grocer or wherever you go to, and you buy stew meat.
No.
Now, I'm sorry. I don't know if I can get this into the picture. There it is. See the size of this thing? Arnold Schwarzenegger would have a hard time chewing on this sucker. So what I do is I go through all the meat, which I've done already actually, and I'll pick out the big ones that need. Look, honestly,
Right.
you imagine Grandma chewing on that? Huh? Gotcha, huh, Kenny? All right. All right. So we're gonna cut these guys up, bite-sized pieces. You want them to be so it'll fit on a spoon.
Yeah, it is a soup, not a stew.
Yeah. It's not a stew. It's a soup. So. Boom. So 2 pounds of nice stew meat.
By the way, if you don't want to use stew meat, you can use short ribs that don't have the bone and the boneless short ribs.
Yep.
Grandma used to call that flunking. And it's just beef short ribs. Beef short ribs. You can cut them up yourself. Actually, you can use any steak, but
You know, originally when you said it was flanken,
yeah,
I thought you were talking about a flank steak,
right.
but it's not
Right.
a flank. It's not. It's
No.
a short rib. Yeah.
Yep.
A boneless short rib. Yeah.
That's an old world name for it.
All
And I
right.
think
So
if they ever saw how much we pay for short ribs now, they'd have a heart attack.
oh my God. Yeah. All right. So here goes into the mix. 2 pounds of flanken.
I'm slowly but surely converting Bill and Becky. He's got flunking now. We got a ways to go, but we got one word in there.
There's a trick that I do when I'm working with onion. A sharp knife is a very good thing to do when you're dealing with onions. After you're done with onions or garlic or anything that smells like that has that aroma to it, if you take your hands, and if you have a stainless steel sink like I do, I have a double sink, so I'll go between the sink and where that rib is between the two sinks, I'll take my hand and I'll rub it back and forth against the sink and do the same thing with the other hand. And when you prick them up, they don't smell like onion or garlic anymore. I don't know what it is, but that was one of those tricks that I learned. So here's the onions and the flaken just sitting there having a grand old time. All right. So everything's kind of nice and brown going up here. It's like not overdone. So now we're going to take and we're going to introduce the 14 ounces of diced tomatoes in the pot. 9 days old.
While he's doing that, one of the things I love about food is to find out where they came from and how they changed through the years. One of my favorite stories is about a thing called Portuguese shrimp fritters. And if you go to Portugal, my pronunciation I'm sure is wrong, it's called camarones fritas ou massa, Portuguese shrimp fritters. Now, people love tempura shrimp from Japan. Tempura shrimp is Portuguese. In the 16th century, the Portuguese were the rulers of the ocean. They are the great explorers. And they opened up China and they opened up Japan. And on every Portuguese ship, there were Jesuit priests, usually at least one, sometimes many more. And the Jesuits, when they got into Japan, opened up their own missions, eventually churches, and they hired local chefs. And they brought this dish, shrimp fritters, which is a typical just fritter with flour and oil and salt and so forth. And they make a batter and they mix in cocktail shrimp or cut a big shrimp up into pieces and then drop it into a fryer. And it would puff up and everything would be beautiful. And I've made them, I love them. But the Japanese cooks, they were very, very creative. And so they just changed it little by little throughout the years. And eventually that became tempura, which is basically a battered shrimp. So now you can tell everybody, you know where they came from.
So here's I've talked about this before. This is the garlic trick. Like if you knock off the ends of the garlic and then you put them into a cup. I have these two, I guess they're half cups. But if you take it and you shake it, it's supposed to take the skin off the garlic so you don't have to sit there and start peeling away. But a new thing I had just learned, that if you take, after you chop the ends off, if you take and score, see how, I don't know if you can catch that on the camera or not, but I scored the skin edge of the garlic. So let's see what happens, if it's going to really, really work. Now that that's done, you take the two halves, put them together, and you do the shake, rattle, and roll. Oh, my goodness.
It's magic.
1, 2. It's magic. 3. So there's the skin that you would be playing around with, trying to get it off the darn garlic clove. So, Fred, I'm sorry.
You don't have
the recipe calls for 1 clove of garlic. They would run me out of town on a rail if my neighborhood found out that I only used 1 clove. Becky loves garlic. I love garlic. Matter of fact, when Becky and I were first dating, when I came over to cook at her house, I opened the refrigerator, and inside the refrigerator was a jar, like a ball mason jar, full of minced garlic. And I went, thank you, Jesus. It's like, oh my God, this girl loves garlic. It's like, it was a match made in heaven. All right, so.
But if you're allergic to garlic,
yeah, if you're allergic to garlic,
you can just leave it out.
Leave it out, or use scallions, or
shallots.
Or shallots, yeah. It's an onion root anyway. All right, so I'm going to take these 2 guys. Yeah, 2 guys. And then you take the blade of your knife, you're not going to go, you just take the blade of the knife and just pop it. See how it just kind of mushes up? Just pop it. And then I'll take it from there and just give it a rough chop. And then we're going to take that. Oh. Start reducing our heats here now. Because this is at this point, after we've done all this stuff, now we're just going to start adding everything else that goes with it. We had the 2 bay leaves. Now we have the basil. I have fresh basil that I grow on my porch. I don't take basil and chop it up with a knife. I take it and I kind of shred it, because as I'm shredding it, I can feel it kind of doing a compression thing to it, and you're releasing the oils that are in the leaf. Oh my God, does that smell good? So there was the 2 tablespoons of fresh oregano. Fresh basil. What was this? This was I think it was a 1/4 cup? No, 1/3 of a cup of sugar. 1/3 of a cup of sugar. And we're just gonna. So guess where the sweet's coming from, huh? Hang on. Don't go away. There's 1/3 of a cup of sugar. So along with that 1/3 of a cup of sugar, we're going to add between a half and 3/4 of a cup of raisins.
Just a half. No more than a half.
Yeah.
The raisins, believe it or not, when they cook, they give out really a great sugary flavor, which is different than regular sugar. By itself, if you just had raisins, you would not have enough sweetness to do the sweet and sour. But it adds to the sugar and adds another level of flavor into the soup.
So then now what we're going to add right now is the Spanish paprika.
I'm going to hit you if I can.
I thought that would get your goat. So here we have the Hungarian. Actually, the Hungarian. I was looking at another one, Kenny, that there was a hot Hungarian.
Yep.
And I went, I don't know.
Just a different pepper, and it's really good. So is the smoked paprika, Hungarian.
Yeah.
If you notice in the paprika he was using now, the Hungarian, that's an orange color.
Yeah.
Spanish paprika is a dark red, and that's only used really for coloring. If you sprinkle it on chicken or something, it'll give a nice glaze. But the Hungarian paprikas, they have a great nutty flavor to them. So.
How's that smell, honey?
It smells good. So Ken, if we were to use the hot Hungarian, would that be like really nuclear?
No.
No.
It's
not like Thai cooking.
No, I had Thai chili the other day for the first time myself. Just a little spoonful, almost died. No, this is not that.
So right now we're going to add a third of a cup of lemon, which is about 1.5 lemons, basically. And I try to do this so that I don't get the crunchy seeds in there either. And my lemon squeezer is a little. There we go.
And if you don't have fresh lemons, you want to use lemon juice in a jar. The cabbage soup police will not come to your house. It's perfectly okay.
Yeah, just don't let Kenny and me know.
Yeah, but Hungarians didn't have lemons, did they? In the old country?
Well, what's the other thing?
No. They use something called citric acid.
Citric acid, yeah. Citric salt.
Yeah.
Or what would they call that, Kenny? Sour salt?
No, I've always heard of citric acid. So.
It's called sour salt, right?
Grandma probably called it sour salt. Yeah, that would make sense.
But I think lemon gives it a great flavor for the sour. I actually had one woman ask me, she tasted it and she goes, "This isn't sour enough," because she used to use the citric acid. And I said, if I use that, nobody else probably would eat the thing. Gotta have a balance. Our palates today are different than they had in these old countries, especially Eastern European countries. One day, I would love to do. It's a West African soup, and it's made with sunflower seeds. It is phenomenal.
Are they roasted? Do they roast the sunflower seeds?
Oh, you can use regular roasted sunflower seeds. Not in the shell.
Yeah, right.
No crunch.
No crunch.
Once went into a Chinese restaurant and they had crispy shrimp. Crispy shrimp, I thought they just broiled it a lot. No, it's fried in the shell. And you actually have to eat the whole thing. Ugh.
That's how my daughter-in-law, she's from China, and that's how they cook shrimp.
Yeah.
They eat the shell and all. Like when we have shrimp cocktail, and we'll pull the tail off. Nope, down the hatch.
Yep.
So here goes the lemon juice. We got a little bit of a strainer because we don't want the the seeds to get in there. All right, I'm going to put this over here.
You have a bay leaf trying to escape.
Where?
Oh, yeah, it's on the
In
side.
the pot.
Ah, good eyes.
Hey, it's easy. I'm sitting here watching this.
Yeah.
I got the easy part.
I'll tell you what, though, Kenny. I got the best part because I can smell this. Oh, my God. Oh, my.
No, I've got the best part because I don't have to cook it, and I smell it, and I get to eat it.
Yeah. All right. So, in, garlic's in, lemon's in, that's in, that's in. Then we take some beef broth here in 2 quarts. Doesn't matter what your preference for beef broth is. I actually like to do a beef stock, but
not bouillon.
Fine.
no, don't use bouillon. No, bouillon's got too much darn salt in it.
It's basically flavored salt, yeah.
But Swanson does. I mean, we don't get. We're not. What's the word I'm looking for? We don't get paid for advertising, but Swanson's got a very good beef stock.
Okay, Lily is asking, can you use vinegar for the sour? I've never tried it, but the whole thing about cooking is make it your own. So
Yeah,
if
right,
you want
right.
to use like a champagne vinegar or something like that, or white wine vinegar, or red wine vinegar
Right.
too. Go
She's
ahead,
asking
try
about
it.
an apple vinegar.
Apple vinegar, all right. Yeah.
The question I have is, for those of us that are still working, can we do this in the crock pot?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we have a friend of ours that just went out. Oh, Fred. Fred's been on with Beth. They have an Instapot, and it makes it, I guess, twice as fast.
Mm.
Okay.
Some things need to be cooked slowly, though.
That's why I was thinking crock pot.
I know, Kenny. Take our job away, huh? All right, I'm going to start putting a little more heat back up here.
Just so you know, we've got about 13 minutes.
After you taste this at this point, if you want to add more tomatoes or it's too sweet, too sour, go ahead. It's your soup.
Don't be bashful. Okay, so
We do have
here's our cabbage.
10 minutes.
Calls for 3 pounds of cabbage, which is basically 1 head. I was curious. I picked this one out at the store and I came back home. I said, well, how much does it weigh? Not bad. It's just under 3 pounds.
He actually weighed it in the supermarket. Don't let him kid you.
No, I did not. So we're going to take this guy. I'm going to knock him down the middle here. We're still on the vegetable side of the board. I'm going to do this guy again. This guy again. Okay. So all of us that do coleslaw and everything else, the core, which will break your tooth. You quarter it, put it on an angle, and then just knock that puppy right out of there.
One thing with the extra, like the core or onion skins or anything like that, you can save them, freeze them. When you have enough, you can make a vegetable stock with that.
Right.
That's great. I have that in my freezer right now. I have a whole bag of scraps. I also have chicken trimmings that are in the freezer. and just to make my different stocks. It's easy.
And we used to do that at work too. It's
Yep.
when I used to do I mean, you're cooking 150 pieces of chicken, and I would trim a lot of the what would you call it, excess fat and yeah, and I would use that for a chicken stock.
Yeah.
All right, so on the cabbage, we're going to do about a 1/2 inch slice. So you get this. All right, so you don't want to go much more than a 1/2 inch. We're going to go a 1/2 inch this way. And then I'm going to turn it that way. And then these guys here, I'm going to do about 1 inch. And I'm just going to pop that right in there. You're not making coleslaw. You're making something that's going to fit on the end of your spoon. So I mean, you're not being judged by what you're cutting up, you know.
You can use red cabbage too, which will give a very different color.
I almost bought a small one, just to add color.
Yep. Same flavor, but.
Yeah, what do they call that? There's a German, is it Spazel?
Yeah, got me.
Is it, there's a German, I mean, when I do sauerbraten, that's another recipe, but it takes like 7 days to make it. There's Spazel and Kartoffel. I think Kartoffel is like a noodle. My friend Lothar, he was from Germany. Well, he still is. Ever since I got laid off, I don't know where he is. But his wife did a handwritten recipe for me of how to make it. And I'll tell you what, we've made it a few times. And like I said, it takes 7 days. You go to the store and you buy the worst piece of meat you can find. And you put it in a vinegar brine type thing. And you just keep turning it for 7 days. So what's happening is the vinegar is breaking down the muscle tissue. So it's tenderizing the beef. And then you add mushrooms and everything else that go with it too. It's like, oh my God, it smells so good. Yeah.
Colleen says she has a random suggestion for a Christmas cookie show.
Who?
Oh.
Christmas cookies.
For Christmas cookies.
That would probably be the
Oh,
end
really?
of
That's a great
November.
idea.
Who has that? Karina?
Colleen.
Oh, Colleen.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Like sugar cookies or something. I mean, everything. Yeah. Can I do that in an hour?
Well, gang, it would be fun if you'd all submit a recipe to Becky.
Yeah.
You know, what would be really fun is everybody cooks a cookie. And you can all send your ideas of what cookie you want to make so we don't get any duplicates. And we can all present our cookies at that show. I think that's a great idea for our December show.
That was Colleen?
I would suggest
cool.
at the end of November because our shows are like the last Thursday
Oh,
of
right.
the month.
So November,
Okay.
yeah. Then we'll be ready for the Christmas season.
Right. Because otherwise we'll be ready for New Year's Day.
Before we're running out of time here. I just want Becky to take a look at the pot. So what's going to happen now is this is going to sit for about an hour and a half under I'm going to put it right now. It's at a medium high just to get the broth cooking up again. But earlier today, we did. Ta-da!
There's the finished product.
That's what the finished product looks like.
Ooh.
I'm getting hungry already.
What's that?
I said I'm getting hungry just looking at this.
Lots of soup.
Getting hungry, Kenny?
Yeah,
Does it look right?
it does.
So there we have it. It's Grandma's sweet and sour beef cabbage soup. I think, you know what? You guys missed out on it because we lost the power back when we were going to do this show. And I did the same thing. I was making one. I made one during the day, so at least I'd have it to show. And then we had another one that was going. So I had a pot and a half, two pots of sweet and sour soup. It was awesome. It was awesome. I mean, I was really, really impressed with how it tasted. So
Good.
kudos to your grandma.
Yes.
And kudos to you.
You hear
Kenny.
that?
Yeah. She's looking down on us. She's hopefully she's smiling on us. But that's it. Oh, and so one of the things that you might want to serve with this would be a crusty bread.
Yes.
This is a French baguette, so it's kind of crusty. And then, hang on, I'll be right back. The pairing. So we kind of looked up what kind of a beer. Let's see, I'm getting a shine there. So this is Spaten. It's made in Munich, Germany. It's the Oktoberfest, which is perfect right now because it is October. Pretty soon.
Lily is asking, did you use water or stock? They use stock, Lily.
It's all stock, all beef stock and beef broth. So, as we say in the old country, bon appetit.
Thank you for joining us for Seat of the Pants Cooking with Chef Bill. You can watch archived episodes of this program on Silas Bronson Library's YouTube site. To register for future episodes, visit bronsonlibrary.org/programs or contact the Silas Bronson Library Reference Department at 203-574-8225.